It's 3 minutes to 9, by the way, if anybody wants to know.
It takes a few minutes. So.
Yeah, we're now live.
Okay, we just wait a couple of minutes, Councillor Brown, for 9 o'clock.
All right, you give me the shout and I'll...
Will do. Okay, if you'd like to start now, it's now 9 o'clock, Councillor Brown.
Yep, okay. Members, welcome to the virtual meeting of the Employment Committee, which is being streamed via YouTube. I will begin by asking the Democratic Services Officer, Karen Dunleavy, to do the roll call of members. When they say your name, if you can unmute and confirm you are present.
Okay, Councillor Brown.
Yeah.
Councillor Holditch.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yes, present and correct.
Councillor Hemraj.
Present.
Councillor Yegotine.
Present.
And Councillor Wigan.
Present.
Thank you. That's everybody present. Councillor Brown.
Yep. Item 1, apologies for absence. Has there been any apologies for absence received?
We have no apologies for absence. Thank you.
Item 2, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest? If so, please can you raise your virtual hand?
Did you call your meal on the present list, Karen?
Sorry.
Did you call your meal? I didn't hear you called your meal.
Councillor Jamil, are you present?
Yeah, it's just I thought because you'd asked me a few minutes earlier, I just thought.
Yeah, no, we'll just making sure. Thank you.
Right. Are you ready for item 3, Karen?
Yep, so no declarations of interest. Ready to go into item 3.
Item 3, Assistant Director IT and Digital Services. I'll pass over to Sue Grace, Assistant Director of HR and Development to present the report.
Good morning, Councillor Brown. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Sue Grace, I'm actually a Director for Customer and Digital Services, Councillor Brown. Just,
right.
Yeah,
I
just to
haven't got
make
that
that
written
clear.
down in front of me.
Well, I apologise for that.
Yeah.
Apologies. So good morning, everybody. Yes, I'd like to present this proposal for you. It's for an Assistant Director for IT and Digital Services. As councillors will be aware, last year we approved at Cabinet a joint strategy across Peterborough and Cambridgeshire for IT. And as part of that strategy, we had an aspiration to bring together our IT systems, and we've been working on that over this last 12 months. And also to build a single IT organisation for both councils, for Peterborough City Council and Cambridgeshire County Council. We've now got an opportunity to take this new service forward under this new role of Assistant Director for IT and Digital Services. Councillors will be aware that we exit the Serco ICT contract at the end of September, and across at Cambridgeshire County Council, the local government shared service that has been delivering the IT services over the last however many years is also coming to an end, and the IT service in Cambridgeshire is moving back into Cambridgeshire County Council. So we've got an opportunity to build a new IT service across both councils from this autumn. So this assistant director role is about building this service. It's about leading the different teams across the team that will be coming back into the council from Serco, the existing Peterborough IT team, and bringing those two teams together with what was formerly the local government shared service IT team in Cambridgeshire and the Cambridgeshire County Council team. This assistant director role will report to me, and it will lead the existing heads of service that lead those teams across those different areas of IT across the two councils at the moment. The role is about driving forward a restructure to build this new service. It will be about taking out duplication and making sure we've got a really efficient IT service for the council for the future. We want to progress with this as soon as possible. The role aligns with other assistant director roles within Peterborough City Council, and it is going to be shared in terms of its cost 50-50 with Cambridgeshire County Council, as with other senior roles in other services. If councillors are concerned about the finance for this particular role, we've worked closely with Pete Carpenter and his team in the finance services to ensure that we can deliver some savings in order to take out any pressure that this new role may create. I've discussed the role with the cabinet member, Councillor Farouk, and he's very supportive of this particular role, but has recommended that I make 2 changes to the job description. So one of those changes is to add in a specific reference to commercialism, because Councillor Farouk's keen that once we built this service under the leadership of this new assistant director role, that actually we'll be able to offer this service to other councils. So we'd like that specifically mentioned in the job description. And the other element that Councillor Farouk would like making explicit in the job description is the role of IT to lead the transformation of other services across the council. So I'll pause at that stage and answer any questions that people may have about this role. Thank you very much, Councillor Brown.
Okay. Are there any comments from members? If you can raise your virtual hand, and I will ask the Democratic Services Officer to call your name out and ask your questions.
Councillor Jamil.
Thank you. I welcome this move away from Serco, something we've banged on about a long time. But the dangers and the pitfalls are that, you know, we might make this more expensive than when we were with Serco. In terms of how much money we were giving to Serco and how much we're gonna, when we bring people in, are we really gonna make that saving?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think the intention of bringing the service together across 2 councils is exactly that, to be able to make some savings. Just to give some examples of that, then we've already worked really closely with colleagues in adults and children's services, so that rather than having 2 separate IT systems for each service in each council, adults and children's services each now have a shared system across both councils. So in terms of procuring a system, we can save money by procuring one system for both councils instead of having 2 different systems. And we intend to proceed with that approach in looking at where there are opportunities in terms of procurement to save money by procuring systems in a shared way. The other way in which we want to deliver an efficient and cost-effective service is through this role at the moment, because we don't have a single organisational structure. Then again, we've got separate teams supporting services, and we'd like to bring those teams together And so further into the spring of next year, then this role will be leading a restructure across the entire IT service in order to be able to deliver efficiencies. So I'm confident that it will be a cost-effective service.
Can I just ask a supplementary on that?
Yes, of course.
In terms of having the right amount of staff, so where are we going to 2P over the Serco staff, or as many of them, or are we starting with a blank canvas?
We will be 2Ping over the members of staff from Serco, and that will be happening from the 1st of October.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Councillor Hemraj.
Hi, you mentioned about Councillor Farouk offering the services to other councillors, other councils. Has it been considered, if the service is successful, that this service is offered to businesses outside the council?
Thank you very much. I think that certainly reflects the ambition that Councillor Farouk has. And I think what we want to do is to start by building the service across the 2 councils, being confident that we've got that right, and then being confident about what we can offer to other, probably starting with other councils, because that work will be familiar to us, but we don't want to kind of limit it in terms of our ambition. So obviously, if we feel we can offer a service and that's financially advantageous to this council, then we'd look to do that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Hemraj? Okay, we have Councillor Fitzgerald. Councillor Fitzgerald, please could you turn your camera on? Thank you.
Yes, I'm here. There we go. Sue, just specifically turning to the agenda item and why we're here to discuss it. So I get that, you know, I mean, I've read through the job description. You've also just added to it. I don't particularly have anything else. I'm sure you've done most of those things. In terms of the pay scales, I noticed that the post certainly that is coming up just after. Has this been determined on the Hay scale, or how's that been determined? Because it's in one of the recommendations. And also, just as an aside, although it's not exactly relevant to the decision we're here to make today, you talked about a restructure and that person leading that restructure. It would be good to just hear probably what the kind of things need restructuring that you feel going forward.
Thank you very much. Well, to answer the first question, yes, it has been evaluated on the Hay scale. And then in terms of the restructure and the kind of things we want this particular role to lead, at the moment, we've got a head of service for IT in Serco. I've got a head of service on the operational side in Cambridgeshire. We've also got an existing shared head of service between Peterborough and Cambridgeshire around all our IT business systems. So this role will work with that leadership team to restructure across the entire service. So again, just picking up on the example that I gave previously, at the moment, whilst we've moved to a single system for adult services in both councils, we've got 2 separate teams operating in the 2 councils. So there's a logic in bringing those teams together and looking at the kind of roles that we need in that single team. So that'll be part of the restructure, where we've got systems where we want to bring together a single team. Likewise, whilst we built our website in both councils on the same technology platform, we've got separate teams supporting that. So we'd want to bring the teams together and through that deliver some efficiency, but also get a much more coherent way of supporting our IT systems and our digital systems across both councils. So I hope that answers your question, Councillor Fitzgerald, in terms of bringing greater clarity in the way that we support the rest of the council in delivering our IT service.
Oh, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Any supplementary question there, Councillor Fitzgerald? No?
No, I'm good. I'm good, Karen. Thanks.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So Councillor Brown, if you'd like to read out the recommendation.
Yeah. Well, the recommendations are to 1, consider the proposed job description for Assistant Director of IT and Digital Services for approval, making any necessary proposals for changes and, if required, delegating authority to finally approve the job descriptions to the Director, Customer and Digital Services in consultation with the Chairman of the Employment Committee, and 2, endorse the appropriate remuneration band for the post of Assistant Director, IT and Digital Services. Members, is this agreed? If not, please can you raise your virtual hand now?
Thank you, Chairman. We have no hands raised.
Okay. We'll go on to now item 4.
So that's agreed.
Agreed, yeah. Item 4, place the Economy Directorate Senior Management changes. I will pass over to Steve Cox, Executive Director, Place and Economy, to present the report.
Thank you, Councillor Brown, and good morning, councillors. I want to say just a few words of introduction to this paper. Firstly, to set out a new structure for my management team across both councils, which is set out in Appendix A, and then to seek your agreement to recruit to 2 posts. One is Assistant Director for Growth and Regeneration, which is a shared post across Peterborough and Cambridgeshire. And the second one is an Assistant Director for Housing, which is for Peterborough only. If I just talk through the 2 posts and then ask for you to pose any questions that you may have. For the Growth and Regeneration role, you'll know that we have great ambitions for the growth of the city, the economic regeneration that is ongoing, but with added impetus needed post-COVID, and that we have a number of quite high-profile schemes and projects that the City Council is wanting to see happen and needs to be able to drive forward. The University of Peterborough, the Station Quarter, North Westgate, the city centre regeneration and renewal post-COVID are all top priorities for us. And also around all of that is the direction that we want to go down with the new Towns Fund and the submission that we made at the end of July to secure, if we can, and we hope £25 million to continue that regeneration and add stimulus to it to bring it forward more quickly. The role requires high-level skills in terms of negotiating with developers, attracting investors to come in, but working with communities and working with existing businesses. So it is a really important function. It's currently being delivered by an interim development director, and that needs to come to an end. And this role would be doing that activity. So a really important one for the city. The housing role. You may be aware that we've had an interim assistant housing or an interim housing director for the last 7 months or so. And that I think has shown the benefits of having strategic leadership of our housing service, significant improvements in the way homelessness and rough sleeping has been managed. We've been able to reduce the costs through bed and breakfast significantly in that period. And there are further plans now to look at what we can do further to shape the service, to bring housing supply in line with demand, and also the establishment of an HRA. So a more strategic approach to housing requires a leadership that needs to be provided at an assistant director level. And I think the experience over the last 6 months has, I think, demonstrated the need for that. The costs for both posts, we've been working closely with finance colleagues. So the costs for the Assistant Director for Growth and Regeneration will be met from the costs attributed to the Service Director for Growth and Regeneration, Growth and development that we're not appointing to. So one of the posts that I wanted to try to appoint to when I came in last year was a service director position. We've been unable to appoint to that, having tried twice to recruit to it. It's a difficult role to recruit to nationally. So the cost of that, the budget for that role will be used now to fund the assistant director for growth and regeneration costs. For the housing post, a business case has been prepared and shared with finance, which is going to generate income that will be sufficient to cover the costs of the housing posts. That's through rent collection service in-house and housing management, which has been robustly tested by finance colleagues, and they're supportive of those costs being met through that process. So they're the two roles. Really happy to answer any questions members have on them, but I think it sets us forward to deliver on two very important areas for Peterborough, the regeneration agenda, but also housing, and having two assistant directors on permanent roles, I think will be vitally important to us. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We have a question from Councillor Fitzgerald.
Steve, sorry, just to pick up one thing there, just for clarification. You said the costs will be met. I assume you meant to say through increased rents collection and cost reduction on homelessness and the like, not revenue. I think you said revenue income, but you actually mean savings, presumably, do you?
Yes, it's a combination of savings in how we undertake housing management, but also rent collection. We're at 75%.
Yeah, so it will improve. So
will improve to 95%. Yes, thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Yes.
Yeah, I thought you said revenue income, and I'm thinking, how are we going to charge? But we'll collect more income or save more costs in terms of diverting costs from homelessness and the like. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Fitzgerald, do you have a supplementary to that question?
No, I don't. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Councillor Jamil, you have a question.
Thank you very much. Steve, in terms of how we move forward with this, is it something that, if we approve today that we're going to require these, do these adverts go out nationally, locally? Can you just explain to me, because the last thing I'd want is someone out there thinking, well, we're creating for jobs for people, you know, who are friends, which is one of the accusations that's been leveled before. So how does the process move on from here?
Thank you, Councillor Jamil. Yeah, really important question. These are high-profile roles, and they will be advertised nationally. I think we need to get the very best people to come in to do these particular functions within Peterborough. They are both quite tough markets. I'm not going to sort of say it's going to be easy to find the right person. They are difficult roles to recruit to across the country, but I think the ambition and the need and the excitement that we have and can generate within Peterborough will be communicated in the way we promote these two roles. So yes, it certainly will be advertised widely, and I hope we'll get some good candidates for them.
Okay, Councillor Wigan, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. It's on a similar vein to Councillor Jamil's question. Obviously, you said it was disappointment that you weren't able to fill the service director role before, Steve. Are you confident that you will be able to find the right calibre of candidates to fill these two roles? So we won't end up back in this position again, having to change the job specs another time.
Thanks. Thank you, Councillor Wigan. Well, I am confident, but I always will be confident that I can fill roles that I go out to try to recruit to. I think the reason that I'm more confident now is having spoken to various agencies and done a bit of sort of thinking and testing of the market. I'm sure that there are people out there that would be attracted to these roles. The remit is narrower than the remit that we had for the service director role. And I think on reflection, the remit probably for the service director was very wide and across both councils. So maybe that was an effect on that particular process. It was still, I think, the right thing to do. But with these two roles, they are narrower, they are specific. The technical requirements for both are set out very clearly. And there are similar roles across other similar councils that have been recruited to over the last 12 months. So I'm confident that we will get some good candidates, having taken soundings from various agencies. And I'm looking forward to getting the adverts out and seeing what comes in.
Okay, Councillor Fitzgerald, do you have a question?
Steve, a couple of questions actually. They're kind of all related, but will the current interim apply? Do you know, just as an aside, do you know that already?
I don't. The interim for the housing role.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest, Councillor Fitzgerald. I think when an interim is in a sort of series of interim roles, they tend to carry on as interims. But I know
I get that. It's just it relates to my next question, because obviously we've had some success with that interim, which has been marked in terms of, you know, the reductions we've made in terms of the savings. So which brings me on to my point about pay. So rather than me delve through all the details, so what are both salary ranges? So the first one for the assistant director and then the housing one, what are they? Do you know?
Both on the same hay grading, which is up to 97,000 at the top end of the salary range.
Right, which begs the question, that's the norm that's been graded by hay. So is that going to be enough to attract the very best people?
I think it is. That will have been tested across the market, Councillor Fitzgerald, and the assessment that's been reached is that is what the role requires and justifies. And again, having spoken to agencies, that's the sense that they have as well for a position with that remit and that level of responsibility is something that they think can attract some good candidates.
Okay, I'm coming to the point in a second, because members will need to agree. Is that what are the implications of failing to secure an appointment, because budgets and everything else are dependent on these appointments that you're factoring in? So do you need any wiggle room from the committee in order to make an appointment?
I mean, it's difficult to predict what will come in. You know, wriggle room may be helpful if we get to a point where there's a very good candidate that is wanting more than the top end of the salary band. It's not something I'm expecting, but having that space would always be helpful. Perhaps I could ask committee to consider if we could come back and seek a view from committee at the time, perhaps, of the appointment, if that is an issue at the time when we have the candidates that we know, and if there is an appointment that we want to make.
Will they be coming before committee, Steve?
Yes, I will.
Oh, that's fine. No, that's fine then. That's okay. That is absolutely fine. It's just that I wouldn't want us, you know, for the sake of £5,000 or whatever it is, to be missing out, because, you know, the reality is it's like footballers, in the sense that, you know, some of the people in local government are commanding high salaries, and I don't want us to get into trouble or have a debate at council about it at some point in the future, which will waste another hour of my time when we need this person, and we all must agree that that's what we need. If the person or the post is key to the success of making the savings we need, or making the investment, and moreover, it's not all about savings, making the improvements to services, and in terms of the development and regeneration and growth agendas. Thank you.
Okay, you have any more questions, Councillor Fitzgerald? That's it from you. Okay, thank you. You don't appear to have any more questions, Councillor Brown, so you could go to the recommendation.
Recommendations, right. Members' recommendations are to: 1, consider and agree to the new senior management structure in place and economy, Apex A, and the creation of the following new Deputy Chief Officer posts: Shared Assistant Director Growth and Regeneration, shared role with the Cambridgeshire County Council, Assistant Director Housing, 100% Peterborough City Council. 2, consider the proposed job descriptions for the approval, making any necessary proposals for changes, and if required, delegating authority of the final approval of the job descriptions to the Executive Director, Place and Economy in consultation with the Chairman of Employment Committee. 3, approve that the tried and tested joint appointment process be followed for recruiting to the new shared Assistant Director role for growth and regeneration.
Number 4, Councillor Brown.
Sorry, I haven't turned the page over. Number 4, approve the remuneration band for the shared Assistant Director Growth and Regeneration and Assistant Director Housing. Members, is this agreed? If not, please can you raise your virtual hand now?
We have no virtual hands raised, no dissensions, so that recommendation is approved.
Okay. Right, so now we thank you for members. I will now bring the meeting to a close. That was very quick today.